The Private Label Pod with your host Paul Mooney, brought to you by Private Label People.
You just listen and leave the rest up to us.
Welcome to the Private Label Pod. I'm your host Paul Mooney. The other day I sat down with SO and he outlined some of the key techniques to put in place to stop you hitting the panic button in your business.
Get involved, have your say, ask us a question or leave us a voice message by heading on over to privatelabelpeople.com/podcast.
Okay, SO, thank you for joining me. How are you feeling today?
I'm very good. It's good to be here.
Great. Well, welcome to the podcast. I don't know what episode we're on now, but we're moving on rightly. We're doing well, and I know a lot of the guys are listening and loving the content. So you are another great person to have on and give us some more content to provide. So it's been a busy day in our office today. We've covered a lot of different things, and I'm just off a call with Emily regarding some accountability things with our members. And I know that's something that you touch on yourself. You deal with accountability directly and indirectly through reaching out to people on a daily basis, don't you?
I do. I speak with people all the time. And what we do is we talk about, there's multiple different reasons why we talk. We often have a call set up for something as, like a new product selection call. We have product launch calls. There's different reasons why I set up calls and speak with people. But accountability comes into a big play because it's a matter of sometimes even being prepared correctly for the call. Everybody's time is pretty valuable. I want to make sure that I'm prepared for the call when I meet with somebody. It's also important, I think, that people would be prepared for me or whoever they're speaking with at the time, which ultimately comes on accountability. And accountability is kind of self-managed often, which is, I think, sometimes difficult for some people, sometimes not. Some people are great at it. Other people could use some assistance.
Yeah, and that's why you're here. And I know I do a little bit of that too, and we speak to people often. And you're right. Some people find it quite natural, and they're very focused and very driven, and they have all their ducks in a row, as we say. But other people struggle more with that, and they like us to lead the way, and they like us to plot that path for them. What do you feel in speaking to people on a day-to-day basis are some of the biggest struggles that they face in private label?
I think, for me, what I would say, just in general, even Emily and I have spoke about this in our communication with each other and how we go with things. Communication is a huge piece. So what it does often is it shines light in an area where there might be darkness, right? So it gives clarity to things. And I think what it is that people struggle with often is not knowing something. But then I find that people don't necessarily know where to look either. And I think that becomes a self-motivated type of person. Are you the type of person that looks behind the door that says employees only, or are you the type of person that just walks by? I've always been the type of person to wonder what's going on behind there. And so I think that supported me in that journey. However, I do think it's important that people start to get that clarification, get that information. For me, it questions like that, or just questions in general, they die in the light of exposure, and issues tend to grow in the darkness. And so if you can overcome some of that, which for me, and the amount of content that we're putting out at Private Label People, Inside Circle, and all of the information that's out there, means you have to be present and you have to participate. And we've talked about recently, we've been talking about it for quite some time this year, which is, what is a private label person? And so for me, a private label person is somebody that participates. And we're not asking you to create all the content yourself or know everything. It's to explore and to look, and if you have a question, to raise your hand and ask. This way we can help guide you in that main struggle that I think most people have, which is just not knowing what's next, what to do, or where to find the information.
Yeah, of course. And you give a great metaphor there a moment ago. I like that about problems growing in the darkness. That's it. And the answer is it is in the light of day. But you have to ask a question first of all to find that answer. So we always want that, and we always want people to put their hands up. But just on that, because you mentioned about people, some people want to know everything, and some people sort of shy away from knowing every part of their business. Do you feel it's important that people grasp as much of the business as possible, i.e., you know, getting to grips with reports, things like that? I know that we can help them, and we try to teach them. But some people get a little bit, oh, I'm not good with numbers, or I'm not good with research. The guys will help me out a little bit, but it would be better if somebody has at least a certain grasp of every element of their business, wouldn't it?
A strong foundation in most situations always helps. So having some fundamentals inside your business and some grasp of what we're attempting to do and what you're doing. And we can tease about it and in light conversation, know your numbers, things like that. But um, we have a tendency to focus on things that we like to do and alleviate and move off of things that we don't like to do. And sometimes you can even, I heard a great twist on procrastination, that procrastination isn't really just we procrastinate on things to do. It has more to do with, if you looked at your procrastination list, is it a list of things you don't like to do? And for me, that when I heard that, it made a lot of sense to me. And so what I see is that people just avoid the things that they don't know, or avoid things that they don't like, and that can create a void someplace in the business and a problem. So having what's really neat, and I think, is the idea of outsourcing or asking for help. Right, both of those things are available to people, but where do you go about doing it? And at Private Label People, we can support you, but we do need you to be present and show up. We can answer the questions, but first you have to ask. We can help with the reporting structure, but you're going to have to take it upon yourselves to do the reporting, and meaning analyze your business and look at your numbers. Now, if you have some questions about what's the best way for me to read those reports, what's the best way for me to analyze this particular product or this particular up or down in my trending, we can help answer those questions. But what we can't do is get in there and run your business for you at this level. Now, if that's something that you want us to do, we can talk about that, but everything changes at that point, and the direction that you're going in. And for most of the people want to be involved in their business. Most people want to learn about reporting and learn about product research and learn about the things, but there are pieces that people don't like to do. I'm not a huge fan of the accounting myself. This time of the year for people in the U.S., it's tax season, and that's not my favorite conversation or my favorite tasks to be doing, but it's so vital to the business, and it's super important. So you have to dedicate that time, which means personally, I have to force myself, and I have to dedicate special time to do it. And once I find myself in it, then I'm moving along pretty well. But sometimes I wish I didn't have this problem with the gym, but getting to the gym is harder than being at the gym. And sometimes I see that with a lot of tasks inside the business.
Yeah, of course. It's funnily enough, I got to the gym this morning, but it took all of my mental strength to get there because I was tired this morning. But actually, I felt much better after going and doing it. And it's a bit like when you have a problem within the business, you tend to put it off. If it's the most difficult thing, you think, "Oh, I'll leave that. I'll leave that to later in the day," and then inevitably you don't do it. But when you actually tackle it and you get around it, then you've got clear headspace and you can go on and concentrate, and it gives you that. It gives you that courage, that confidence, and that good vibe that you've got something done that was causing you a little bit of pain. But yeah, it's something that I seen you and Robert speaking about on a stream in regards to a temptation with old products that maybe aren't doing as well as you would have hoped they would do, to move on to a new product. It seems like the easiest thing in the world to think, well, that product isn't going great, so what I'll do now, I'll just put all my concentration into something new, because that's the easiest thing to do in life, isn't it? It's, oh, that's not working. I'll go and fix it by doing something else. But you would, I'm sure, caution against that.
What we have talked about this, and I think it's something that a lot of people do. I know we've done it ourselves. It's easier to look at something new that is exciting or that has potential than to address maybe the issue or the problem or whatever it is. You know, in the business, in the portfolio, you're going to have a product that is your bottom 10%. You know, the idea of real success, in my understanding of, you know, I just did a post about books this week. Most of the books, there's these general ideas that continue to shape over time, and the idea of eliminating that bottom 10% off of any of it, whether it's employees or products or whatever it is, expenses, if you can get those out of there and then you can eliminate that, you can get better. And I think what happens for a lot of people is they ignore something. The problem grows in the darkness, which we talked about. When the light of exposure comes on, then they make drastic, desperate moves. And those moves often cause more issues than they necessarily needed to make. And what we can see is having a good plan and addressing those. So basically, walking into the room and turning on the light and saying, okay, what do we have here? Not focusing on what the problem is or how we got here so much, and just saying, okay, what can we do here? Is there any value? What can we do with? Is there a plan that we can work on? Is it something you have to do yourself, or can we work together? And that's kind of what we're doing at this point. You know, critical inventory has been a conversation. And I think what we've just done is we've just turned on the light for people. Let's take a look at this. This seems to be in the dark. And this is going to allow people to really take a look at their business, maybe look at some of the mistakes that they made, but not focus on that and say, okay, I'm going to avoid this next time. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to turn bad money into good money, and, you know, and a problem into something that could help us. And, you know, the idea then would be, let's take that money and put it into that new product, as opposed to just reaching in the pocket and continuing. You know, I know Robert's mentioned it about repeating the same mistake and expecting the results to be different. You know, that's always been a way that people express insanity and how they discuss it. And if you think about it in your business, it doesn't make a lot of sense to continue to make mistakes and not do anything different. One of the things we talked about before, and I think we even talked about it on one of the podcasts, was Emily and we had a mantra last year, which was, we want to make mistakes. And the reason was because that a lot of times those failures and those mistakes are on the pathway to success. And so when you're making new mistakes, you know that you're growing. And so that would be the way I would take a look at critical inventory, or take a look at people struggling inside their business. Are you making the same mistakes, or are you making new mistakes? Because if you're making new mistakes, then good for you. You're moving forward and you're going in the direction that you should be. No one's expecting you to do 100% perfect the first time. And that's where you can lean into private label people by raising your hand, asking a question, getting in the circle, and kind of, you know, digging in, getting dirty a little bit, and finding the answers that you need. They're there. We can help you find them.
100% we can. And it's, yeah, it's well said. You know, new mistakes are better than making the same mistakes. And if you're making new mistakes, you're breaking new ground in some way, you know, and it's always good. But other things that sometimes people get a little bit frustrated with whenever they're starting a private label business, I've seen, is that, you know, it takes up a lot of time, but it also can take some revenue. And when you put that money out of your bank account, that's like anybody puts money back out of their bank account, they want to get money back in as quickly as possible. But sometimes it can be a frustration, can't it, whenever you have quite a big spend and you're still growing it and you're coming across all these issues that you have on a day-to-day basis with running a business, whatever that business may be, but you're not seeing a lot coming back in. And then you start resorting to desperate measures and start panicking a little bit. Do you see that? Do you see people doing things like maybe changing their PPC up a bit, changing their keywords and messing about with things that maybe ordinarily they wouldn't do? Do you come across that?
You know what, I do, and I see it all the time. We've had these conversations. As a matter of fact, these conversations predate private label people. And private label people, this is great conversation. This particular topic, and this one gets me excited. And the reason is because fundamentally there's some different beliefs. And private label people, what we did when we started out on our journey is we had these conversations and we said, how are we going to be successful and how are the people around us going to be successful? And the idea was that if everybody put all of their money into their own business, into their own products, that would generate the success that people are looking for. So what we've done with our all-inclusive membership, our all-one strategy, is that all of the money that you invest is in your products. And there's no continued or aggressive investments in education or in courses or in content. There's our events we're having. I know you guys are speaking about it. We're having events coming up in July, and if you're an all-inclusive member, there's no cost to get to or to be at that event. Of course, you take care of your own business expenses as you do, and travels and things of that nature. But what we have done is we have literally flipped the entire process upside down and said, put it all into your own business. These are your units. These are your products. And if you do that, we will find the success that we're looking for at Private Label People. And we know you'll find the success that you're looking for. And so what we feel that that's going to do is in the past, and in, anywhere you go, if you go on YouTube and if you go on the internet and you look for anything, everybody's trying to sell something. Everybody's got a course, everybody's a guru, everybody's something, and that's great and that's fine. It's very roomy, and there's a lot of room for whatever flavor you have in that. But what we've done is we've decided to say, let's put all of our education, all of our content, all of what we're doing available for everybody inside an all-inclusive membership and allow them to grow their business differently than we've seen in the past. And then if you add in all one and you eliminate the additional expenses that are coming through storage and through inward fees and through things of more subscription costs, it's just an absolute slam dunk, we feel at Private Label People. And it takes away all of the issues, all of those conversations that we're talking about, that there's a lot going out. And the truth is there is a lot going out, right? It's private label products and private label business to achieve a 6 and 7 figure portfolio. It does take a lot of investment. It does take a lot of energy, and it does take a lot of work. We've talked about passive income in the past, and starting out a private label business, most people would say there's nothing passive about it in the beginning. That comes in time. And can it be? And can you get to a place where I know Emily has talked about this in the past about working on the business as opposed to working in the business. All of those things are available. It's just a matter of navigating that path forward, and then getting really, like what I was saying, getting down and dirty with it, right? Really working and raising your hand and asking the questions, and doing that heavy lifting in the beginning. And if you do that, you're going to find the success that you're looking for. And if you partner with Private Label People and you're able to avoid all of those additional costs and all that upfront stuff, it really makes a big difference. And what we're starting to see is how impactful that can be. We're seeing it in the numbers of people's profits of their products, in individual units, but also the globalization of private label and how we're attacking that is going to be, as we were having a conversation yesterday about increasing, like doubling your business in the next 6 months from just the globalization of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and one of the things that I really like, and you're sort of touching on there, it's the openness and the transparency. We can, those numbers that are there, people can see for themselves. And you talk about people saying, well, we're a guru, people on YouTube, I know everything about this. We've never really tried to say that we are everything and that we know everything. What we have said is that we have a lot of experience and that we're going to put that out there for people to tap into. And there may be some things that even we don't know the answer to, because there are things that can go wrong on a day-to-day basis that people bring to us and we look at and we go, okay, well, we'll use our experience and we'll get our heads around that. We'll try and solve this puzzle. But we're working together. We're not sitting there going, oh, we know absolutely everything. Come in, be a member. We can solve it all. Yeah, we will solve it all, but we'll solve it with each other and through, the feedback that we get from people and working together. And I love that. I love that side of things. And I think that's the great thing. Also, all the people in here will see growing, together within the next 6 months, within the next 12 months. I'm really excited. I think, the events that you speak about, once people start coming to those events, and those events down the years are going to be amazing, because you're going to have people saying, gosh, do you remember when we started off with you guys, 12 months ago, 18 months ago, and I was worried about this, and now look at me and I've got half a dozen products, whatever it might be, and I think that'll be really exciting. I've seen you getting a lot of kudos in Circle lately from people who have been presented with products that you've been working on, and that's amazing to see, and you can see genuine excitement. I can see it in your face, and I can see it in the posts as well. You must be really glad whenever you can bring a really great product to somebody and say, hey, look, I found you this product, you should seriously consider it.
One of the things I do get excited. I think one of the things is that we still get excited. All of us do. When Emily or Ollie find a product that's just, a gem of a product that they've been working on and polishing for some time, and it comes out and it's just, everybody gets excited. And then when we can present those products to people, I'm excited, they're excited. And what we do, I bribe those people. I say, listen, you need to go on. No, I just ask them, hey, if you're excited, go on and let everybody know you're excited, because that's part of it too. I think, not to go off on a tangent or to go into a different direction, but as a society or as a people or as whatever, we have a tendency to focus on the negative all the time. Even if somebody comes to the group and says, I have a problem, you'll get 15, 20 comments. If somebody comes and says, I'm having success, you always get less. And I think we should change that around a little bit. That's just something personal for me. I want to be there through your success. I heard people talk about, a friend is when you can tell them bad news, but a real friend is when you can tell them good news. And that really stuck with me. And I feel that way about about Circle. Go in there and tell your good news. And then if you're in there and you're listening to this podcast, or if you're in Circle, celebrate those successes with the people. I've never been great at that. As a matter of fact, this is probably something I've learned the most, not the most, but I've learned a ton of this from Emily. She's taught me the most about it, because it's not something that I had naturally. It's something that Emily had naturally. She loves to celebrate successes of others, and she genuinely cares about it. And I have really, tried to adopt some of that into my life, and I believe in it completely, even though I'm not always the greatest, which means I just have to work at it. But genuinely, we get very excited about good products and great stuff.
And so you should, absolutely. And it's, what, you've hit the nail on the head in that, a lot of the time, even, on this podcast, I've mentioned some negative things, people who are struggling, people who have money going out of their bank account. But, we don't spend as much time talking about all the really great stuff. And there's people out there having some amazing successes, and we're all part of that. And you're right in what you say. The community itself comes together, and I don't think there's one single person out there that sees a post that says, oh, I just had my first sale, or SO just presented another product to me and I'm going to go with it, or I've just joined All One and it's fantastic. And I don't think there's a single person out there that would go, oh, well, that's not good for me. We should be delighted for each other, and I think we are, because it's that sort of community and we're all growing together. But there will be some people listening who haven't taken up on All One yet. They maybe, it never fails to surprise me, so that no matter how much we put things into the group, still sometimes people miss it, or they, it's somebody yesterday found the podcast, didn't know they existed, so they're now listening to them. I think they've listened to 15 in a row. Fantastic. That's what we want. But it's the same thing with All One. Some people might have missed it a little bit, so if they have missed it, they need to go back and check up on that, and they need to book a call in with you, right?
They do, and they need to pay attention inside Circle too. I know Ollie and I are going to do another All One stream next week. I think the 7th. We're really preparing for it. We have a lot of just conversation that we want to talk about, because even though we've already launched it, even though we've already expressed what it is to the group, even though it was a secret, terribly kept for a long period of time, there's a lot of excitement that comes around it when we start continuing to talk about it and to be involved and to get that out there. I'm continuing to get more excited about it, which I think is great. When we first started talking about it, I was excited, but to be more excited now, after we've launched it and after we've really dug deep into it, that's even better. And I think the feeling for everybody around us should be the same thing. The long-term success, the long-term value that you're going to receive by being a part of that really hasn't come. No one's experienced that yet. And if you can, like we talked about yesterday, if you can double your business in 6 months due to globalization, what type of impact would that have on you? Would you still have those conversations of there's too much going out, not enough coming back in, or I don't know? We want to we talk about taking down the roadblocks. We want to take down the roadblocks to, I don't know, I can't do that, or the question comes to why or how. Let's figure it out together. And you mentioned that last night I was on a call with someone, and we came up. It was just a product launch call. We were putting together a detail page for a product, and we came against something that I was unfamiliar with. So I said, "Listen, we got to pause this. I'll get back to you tomorrow." I found the answers to it, and I booked another call with the person today, and we're going to finish up what we were talking about. And sometimes it takes that. It takes a secondary, call or another approach or getting somebody else. I honestly just went to the team and asked them some questions. They knew exactly what the answers were. And I don't feel inadequate about it or that I did something wrong. I just feel like I didn't know. Now I do know. And let's go address this and get it fixed. And most importantly, let's move on, like you were talking about, into what's next and how do we keep going forward. And we should be looking at the positive, because in private label people, if you don't know what's happening, it's mostly because we're putting out a ton of content in a ton of directions all at once, and it's coming out pretty quickly at a fast clip. And there was something that happened this week that Emily mentioned to me, and I said, I didn't know that. Like I didn't see that stream. I need to get on and watch that stream myself. So we listen to the podcasts. We watch the streams. We have to follow up on those things too.
Yeah, of course. And look, it's better too much content than too little. As a friend of mine once said, it's better looking at it than looking for it. So, we'll keep that content going, and we'll make no apologies for doing so. But people can catch up. They can listen to it live. It's all there for everybody. But we've done a lot inside the sort of, what have we been, 6 months, 7 months at it now?
Actually, I think today is 7 months.
7 months, wow. And it's been heavy in terms of the content that we've got through, and the guys, our members, have got through it with us. So it's great. I think everybody should pat themselves on the back, and everybody should celebrate it. So well done if you're listening. It's you've got to a good place, and it's going to get to an even better place. So that's the important message, right?
I couldn't agree more. I'm excited what tomorrow brings. I'm excited to see how these pieces that we're putting into place. I'm excited to see what it looks like when people find the success of putting all of their investment capital into products and into their own business, and how the returns start to come back, and how the conversation, the whole entire conversation is going to change. And we're not going to be talking about money going out and not coming back in. We're going to be talking about conversations of like, hey, what do you do when you're experiencing heavy profits inside your business? What type of creativity can I do going forward? What other ideas do people have out there? Those are the conversations we want to get to, and we know we can, because we are having those conversations, but not with every single person, not every day. So let's get to those conversations.
Definitely. Yeah. That's somebody hit us up and asked us, which yacht should you buy?
That's what I'm talking. What color? That's right.
Great stuff. Well, thank you so much, Esso, for joining us on the podcast, and we will see you again soon. I'm sure. It's always great to have you on, and if somebody wants to know more, if somebody wants to speak to you about All One, or they want to speak to you about products, or even if they're just having a little bit of a struggle, they can hit you up on your call link or Inside Circle. But
absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and we'll speak to you again next time.
Thanks for having me. It was good talking to you again.
Get involved, have your say, ask us a question, or leave us a voice message by heading on over to privatelabelpeople.com/podcast.
Thank you once again to Esso for coming on to the podcast and giving us his time. Great to hear his insight on some of the tried and tested ways that he runs his business on Amazon. Until next time, thank you for listening.